Sports.
We are back, 12 o'clock hour, joined by the Roundtable. Chris Watkins, Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli. Guys, how you doing?
That's what we do.
Guys, how you doing? How you feeling?
I'm all right. Had a pretty tough night of old sports ball watching the Kings and my Yankees lose, and just a lot of bleak things going on. But that Kings game last night, man, was just kind of a chef's kiss of just a fantastic year so far.
Let me just ask you this, and it wasn't where I was going to go, but we're here now. If there was a line of, I don't know about Doug getting extended or getting the interim tag taken off, I think we all felt pretty safe about it, right? From the money reasons to just how much everybody loves Doug. We love Doug, friend of the station, of course, was on the station. We get all that. But you're pretty close to the line now, aren't you? For we can't let this stench go into next season. We're pretty darn close, aren't we?
I mean, it's already kind of happening, isn't it? I mean, like, this is kind of just a culmination of a lot of bad moves, in my opinion. And I was talking just, in the hallway with someone here, just how it feels like that the word stability, that word, we've really searched for it, like within it, the word itself. We've searched for stability within the word stability with the Kings, which is crazy just laid out there. But I look at the beginning of this year in October, where you have a roster where you have, with head coach Mike Brown at the helm, you have players you can build around for the future. After signing an extension, who's going to be on that head of that bench for the next 3 years with a $9-10 million a year extension. You have your franchise cornerstones in Fox and Sabonis. You have your young players in Keegan Murray, you have Devin Carter, who hopefully has some upside, Keon Ellis emerging. And you fast forward to now, and what is the most optimistic, I guess, point of view on the future of this team? Because I don't really know what it is. I think it's probably Keegan Murray, hopefully taking another leap at some point, and maybe he will, maybe he won't. If this is his ceiling, he's still a pretty good NBA player. I think we can say that if this is Keegan Murray's ceiling, pretty serviceable starting level forward. Not an all-star caliber player, but it's a very good two-way player. What else do the Kings have to look at and say, let's build on that as a building block? Because Domantas Sabonis probably goes to him next, but we know that he wants to go a similar route as Fox. And I know Sam Amick's been very outspoken about it, and it looks like that's going to be a conversation in the offseason. Domantas Sabonis wants to know what angle or what direction are they going. I think there's a lot of that right now, and there's not really a clear direction for the Kings itself as far as what do they have to build around for the next 3, 4, 5 years, because I don't know the answer anymore.
And Domas is not the only one that feels that way.
No.
Like, we all feel that way. Why would the players not? I think it's just common logic of like this. It kind of makes no sense what they're doing right now. And I think that a lot of the players are going to look around and have the same conclusion.
Well, hold on now. And I don't know how much was confirmed or not confirmed, and I kind of spoke on this, but there were people in that locker room that did not jive with Mike Brown.
Right.
Okay. So there are people in that locker room didn't jive with Mike Brown, which helped get the ball rolling on this thing. I don't think the org was necessarily happy with Mike Brown after the play-in. I think that they
were hesitant to extend it.
Right. I think they thought that they were going to get into the playoffs, and losing that game without Zion, I think that hurt a lot. But with that being said, if you're going to be outspoken on this type of stuff, essentially get what you want, right? Then after you get what you want, now, well, I don't really like what came about, so now I want to see about my future. Isn't that in itself kind of crazy?
It is. And that's why, I feel like I got a lot of crap for it, but why I was defending De'Aaron so much.
Yeah.
That, why the dude that's been here for 7.5 years, the guy comes in, Domas is a great player. He does a lot of things great. But the reality of what happened is that he is probably the one that spearheaded the whole Mike Brown firing. You're just talking about right now. And then now he's saying, I don't know about this whole thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Which is understandable from his perspective.
Yeah.
But if you're De'Aaron, you've been here for a sec and you know how this goes,
Mhm.
you know, and you're looking and you're like, we're really going to do this all over again. Like, this is the best coach I've had. What are we talking about? You know? And so I get it. I get why Domas would look at this team and be like, what are we doing? I also get why De'Aaron would feel a type of way and eventually get to the point where not quite requesting a trade, but essentially,
Right.
you know? And so, yeah, I mean, they're in a tough spot. There is a world, though, where they save this offseason. I don't think it's likely, but there's a chance. I think that they are going to triple down and try to salvage this offseason and remain competitive. And either you hit a home run with a trade or, you know, 2 years from now, we're going to be looking like, they kind of missed on that one.
Yeah.
And this is going to look even more tough. But I think they are going to triple down on trying to remain competitive.
Chris Watkins, you were born into this, right? You've been here since day one.
All in the dark.
Tough.
Yeah. It is the darkness. Chris, give me your breakdown of kind of how this feels, because it's got to be different than when it was the dark ages and you just weren't competitive. Yeah. Now it's almost you had a taste of it, right? And now it's gone away. Your expectations were whatever they were, and they've kind of tricked all of that off. Is this a different type of frustration than when the Kings just were unofficially tanking every season?
Shout out Ben McLemore, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you and I talked about this a little bit on Tuesday, right? Is like this end of season just feels different. Like, you know, obviously the past couple of years they've been fighting towards something. This feels like they're limping towards something. And like Brenden said, like, you know, this was the Ben McLemore time. This was the Ray McCallum time. This is like when you're bad, like when you're a team that doesn't have playoff aspirations, there's still fun in this chunk of last 10, 15 games because you get to experiment with, let's see how Ben McLemore looks when we don't have DeMarcus Cousins out there. And let's see, you know, so to bring that into a modern example, like, hey, let's sit Sabonis. Let's play Keegan Murray 45 or 40 minutes a game. Yeah. Let's make sure he takes Steph took 23 threes the other day. Granted, he made like 12 of them or whatever, but like
Jordan Poole and Alex Sarr.
Yeah, I mean, you know, 100%. Like, I just think that, you know, this could be a time where you, in the past, you would have used this opportunity to grow, and there's excitement in building something, and this doesn't feel like they're building towards anything. This feels like, you know, they kind of stumbled into this play-in spot where they definitely, I mean, even when De'Aaron Fox was here, this team was screaming, we don't want to be in the play-in. This is exactly what we want to avoid at all costs, and here they are sitting at the last play-in spot. So, it's just I don't see how you could feel anything but disappointed, anything but you know, frankly, I personally feel hopeless for this team. Like I'm glad that there's people out there, you know, saying, you know, like Brenden just said, like they maybe can try and salvage it this season. I think there's people who still think Keon, Devin Carter might turn into something. When I look at the rest of the league, and I think I told Brenden this yesterday at the A's game, like I watched that Nuggets Minnesota game the last half. I mean, the second half and then both overtimes. I can't imagine the Kings playing in that game. And it's crazy because in that Beam Team season, the Kings had that game. That was the Kings Clippers game, the double overtime spectacular that everybody talks about, second highest points scored in NBA history. The Kings can't play in that kind of game. They don't have the shot makers. They definitely don't have anyone who could stop the ball. And so that's kind of where I'm at with this current squad is I just don't think that they're, you know, Allen, when we did the show, we used to talk all the time. There's levels to this. Yeah. The Kings are not on the same level as these other playoff teams. And, you know, you play the game to win. You don't go out there to, you know, give it your whatever. Like, you're not seriously going to make any noise, right? That's, again, something we talked about all the time. Can this team make some noise in the playoffs? That's gone. Like, that hope is completely gone. And so I don't know what you're playing for and what you're aiming for if it's not to win, because I'm tired of Kings trying to make the playoffs. Yeah, isn't that great? Like, there should be championship aspirations, and until I think there's realistic, like, we want to make a move to step towards a championship, then I don't know if I can realistically give the same level of care and attention that maybe I had in the past.
Which, once again, is crazy that we're at this point, you know, from the Kings are at this point, because I think I said it before on here. I remember watching basketball years ago. I think like the LeBron Cavs and the 73-win Warriors, watching those games, being like, man, this feels like a completely different league than the one the Sacramento Kings play in. Like, I can't believe that this team plays in the same league. And also, I felt like that, I think, I think it was when Boston was coming to town, how the Kings would just get completely boat raced by Boston every year. And I feel like these teams are in different leagues. It's crazy with the team that started in the spot that it did at the beginning of the year is back to that point right now where they're in a game against a Washington Wizards team that is trying to lose to get Cooper Flagg and sitting their best 2 players in crunch time, losing. It's crazy they're back at this point. And they do have some talent. Like Brenden said, no doubt. Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis, Keegan Murray, Malik Monk, those are some good NBA players. But I think Dave says it a lot. It kind of makes sense. It's kind of a fantasy basketball team, a collection of talent. Just because you have a collection of talent doesn't mean it's the right collection of talent. That's why these teams that are so successful have the balance. And the balance that you see in a Minnesota of offense and defense, the balance you see in Denver, who's won a championship in the past 2-3 years. Boston speaks for itself. Yeah. The Kings are so far removed from that. They're so much further away from that than they were in October. And I don't know if there's a pivot you can make in the offseason or a kind of quote-unquote win-now move that can salvage the things that have been undone, the culture that's been shifted, all the good that's gone into turning the Kings away from being the doorstep or a team that people dunk on or make jokes about. All that goodwill is gone. Like everyone's back to dunking and making fun of them. And I just feel like that's something that's going to take more work to undo. And it's a bummer after 17 years to get to that point that the Kings are once again having to kind of fight and claw their way out of being in that conversation. It's
really ironic too, you talking about them being a collection of talent and not a team. Like it's funny because when Vivek first bought the team, he got made fun of for comparing basketball to like a jazz band. He said like a basketball team is like a jazz band. And to use that metaphor, it's like they just have a bunch of guys who are, out there independently playing music, but they're not coming together to make a sound. And I think that, funny enough, like Vivek should probably take his own advice and, maybe they are playing a little bit like a jazz band. They're just kind of going off, they're off sheet, all of that. They kind of need to like have hey, you play the drum, you set the rhythm. Hey, you're the lead singer. Like the whole performance is going to be based on
the composer from Whiplash.
The crazy thing, the thing they're missing is the lead singer. The most important part of the whole band is what they're missing. JT Thor, his only 3 points, his only points yesterday.
Yeah.
Probably iced this, look, I don't know about you guys, but that feels like it iced the season to me.
He was in the G League the night before, wasn't he?
I think so.
That was his 5th 3-pointer of the season.
Like, what are we talking about?
It's brutal. And
ended the Washington Wizards, who had 16, they were 16-59.
In control.
Beat you yesterday. In control of the first pick. Again, like everybody has said, actively trying to lose. They sat their 2 best players. First of all, not even that good. No hate. But their 2 best players aren't even that good.
Pool party.
Yeah, we can go back and forth.
Shout out Kyle, great shirt. And you still lost that game. They're actively trying to. JT Thor, who Kyle, you said he's hit 5 threes all year. His 3,
open look.
What are we
Bottoms.
talking? Yeah. What are we? Let that guy shoot. Don't get me wrong, but holy crap, you should never be in a scenario where a JT Thor 3 matters.
No, never. And that's the larger point. And even with Pascal Siakam, I'm sure he's made more than 5, but he's not known for his 3-point shooting. He did it when the Kings played the Pacers. By the way, guys, speaking of the good old days, it is Frank Mason III's birthday. So, G
League MVP.
That's
some respect on his name.
He was 30, I think. 29.
Good old days is
shout
crazy.
Out 94, baby, I think.
So there you go.
95. Good old days is great.
And love the
31st birthday.
There you go.
He's
31.
Love the band
So much
references.
older.
One band, one sound. Shout out to Drumline. On the other side, Zach LaVine. They need to do something. Zach LaVine, Malik Monk. One of them has to get going, guys. How do they get it done? Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
You never know what you might hear when listening to a Sacramento Kings game.
Out of Keegan, going for another triple. Man, is he feeling it. Keegan, can he do it? Yes, there's number 11, Keegan Murray. Keegan steps back. He just knocked down his 12th three-pointer, a Kings franchise record. He's got 45 points.
Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with Sactown Sports and the Sactown Sports app.
Spring is in the air, and there's really nothing better than hitting the open road in a new Honda. Whether you're shopping for new or pre-owned, Stockton Honda has the selection and savings. Plus, get top dollar for your trade. And while life's roads are often filled with bumps, buying from Stockton Honda couldn't be smoother. Wherever the road you travel might lead, Stockton Honda is happy to get you there. Come in today or go to StocktonHonda.com.
Anytime, anywhere, it's all here. StocktonHonda.com.
Hey, what's up, Sacramento? It's Kyle Draper. Turn up the cleanliness at your restaurant, healthcare, or industrial business with Alsco Uniforms, the official sponsor of the Sacramento Kings Mop Crew. We've got you covered with crisp uniforms, hygienically clean linens, floor mats, and, of course, mops delivered weekly. But that's not all. Alsco Uniforms also offers weekly services for first aid and restroom supplies. Discover why it pays to keep clean with Alsco Uniforms. Just go to alsco.com to learn more. Again, that's ALSCO.com.
Allen Stiles. Watch the show on youtube.com/Sactown Sports 1140.
Or listen on the Sactown Sports app.
Joined by the Roundtable, Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli, Chris Watkins. Guys, I love this one. I just had to read this. Normally, we don't read too many texts and calls and do calls, but I just love this one from the 916. This number texting a lot. You guys are crazy. They can definitely make some noise, talking about the Kings. You guys are crazy. They can make some noise. Yes, they are broken for sure, but they have talent.
Okay. What is noise?
Okay. What is noise?
Sure. Like, they've been making noise all year long.
They made some noise last night. Yeah, they made some noise.
But that poses the same question. Okay, hypothetically, they win what? They have 6 games left. They win 3 of them, and they win the play-in games.
Yeah.
They get waxed by the Thunder. Is that making noise?
And we did have an optimistic segment where I do think
you said they were the best 10 seed of all time.
They are the most talented 10 seed of all time.
Yeah, but do you know what the competition is for that? The 2023 Bulls with DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Nikola Vucevic.
Can we also talk about we're acknowledging the 10 seed right now. If we go back like 4 or 5 years where the play-in doesn't exist, this team is really sorry.
That for sure. And also, little side note, the 10 seed that the Kings are scratching and clawing their way to retain right now, no 10 seed has ever made the playoffs before.
Sure.
Ever.
They go on to say this is the same team that we're still talking. We're still talking about the Boston game. This is the same team that beat Boston without Fox and LaVine by 30 and also beat Cleveland. Everyone
and lost
beat
to
Cleveland.
Washington.
Chris, you said something during the last segment where you said, they have said that they don't want to be in the play-in.
Yes.
No, they don't want to be in the. They don't want to be in anything.
They're playing like it. Huh? They're really playing like they don't want to be in the play-in.
They don't want to be in the play-in, but unfortunately, there's really no way for them to not be in the play-in. Guys, when you look at whatever version of the big three you want to look at this, as far as the scores to put Domantas Sabonis in a different category, DeMar DeRozan. I've talked about DeMar DeRozan, 29. He goes in his office. We get all that. This is just who they are. So I'm done fighting the ISO ball thing. How in the world, how do you get Malik Monk going 2 of 9 from 3-point range, and you have Zach LaVine, again, the quietest 18 you've ever seen, 2 of 7 from 3-point range? One of those guys has to figure it out. And I don't know how to do that, but one of those guys has to figure it out if they are going to do what the 916 says and make some noise.
There's 6 games left, y'all.
I know.
What do we like? There's no figuring it out at this point.
And what we're saying is that one of those guys need to not be themselves.
Well,
we're asking one of those guys to be a playmaker, and that's the problem here. Is that DeMar DeRozan, who has, I think that he's embraced like the point guard role over the last 5+ games. His assists are up.
8 assists last night.
He's a solid playmaker, and he can do that. But at some point, he's going to be like, "Where's mine?"
Yeah,
that
sometime is the fourth quarter.
Yes, 100%. And it's like we're asking the way that these guys are optimized are by putting them in comfortable roles,
right,
where they get to be themselves. Let DeMar DeRozan be the mid-range scorer that he is. This is who DeMar DeRozan has been his entire career. He's top 25 or flirting with it.
But he's doing that. But he's doing. I'm not talking about DeMar though.
But
DeMar's doing fine.
The issue is that you don't have a playmaker. And DeMar is like the de facto one that you're asking to be. You're trying to get Malik Monk to do that. And
what happened to Malik? What happened there?
Well, I think that there is still an aspect of he's been back for 4 games?
Yeah.
From being sick. I think there's still a carryover of that for sure.
Sure.
But he's never been a guy that's supposed to be your primary point guard. And I know that they're like now starting Keon. Technically, it's DeMar if you want to pick a point guard. But you are asking guys to do things that are not them. And I swear that all the best teams optimize their talent. And that, hey, DeMar DeRozan is a phenomenal, elite, top of the league all-time mid-range scorer. Let him do that. It only is an issue because the other dudes don't fit around that.
I understand that, but this is what it is. Like I said, John Taffer yesterday, I don't embrace excuses. I embrace solutions. Someone give me a solution to this.
But Allen, there is no solution.
There's no solution, man.
The coach could, try and get them more together.
Right,
I would say is
That's
probably
what I'm
a solution.
saying.
It seems like go ahead.
Well, I'm saying continue. We're still here. It's April 3rd, and we're continuing to try to bank on internal improvement.
Right.
What else can we do,
We've been
Frank?
talking about this since literally Christmas. This team
Frank.
is what it is.
Honestly, I feel like you're trying to be optimistic, and like we are struggling to do that.
Look, man.
And look,
there's something. You get Jake LaRavia back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Then you have to work him in.
You don't have to work him in.
Jake LaRavia is not saving this season.
Usually you are the most pessimistic, negative person on these
This
airwaves.
is 3v1 right now.
We are trying.
No, if you listen to hour one, if you listen to hour one, I already got my licks in. Don't get
and
me
look,
wrong.
for the record, this isn't fun. We don't want to come on here.
I don't know. You got to smirk.
My goodness, man.
I wish they were good.
We would love their.
So if I said,
I wish they were decent.
I say the words Markelle Fultz to you.
Stop.
What?
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
He was brought on.
He was.
Okay. Brandon can't even look at me.
We're talking about Markelle Fultz right now, the dude that they signed 20 games ago.
We're looking at a Markelle Fultz, okay, who was brought on to do some of these things. Guys, I'm looking for solutions here, and nobody has anything for me.
That's the problem.
I would say that the answer, I guess, if you have to find one, is kind of like what Brenden said. Like you got to mold these guys. Some of these guys have to fit into some roles. Like they can't just go out there and be themselves. Like DeMar DeRozan wants to be the ISO scorer that seals games and is the been top 3 in clutch finishers the past couple of years. Like he wants to be that guy. Well, I think we've seen that. You can live and die by it, but the Kings are dying by it quite often here. Maybe it should be, on Doug, or maybe it's, Mike Brown used to talk about this all the time, not to bring up Mike Brown again, but people are going to get tired of hearing the coach's voice. Like it's got to be internal. It's got to be the guys talking to each other and saying, was that fun? Hey, DeMar, I know you got 8 shots up the last 5 minutes. Did the other 12 people on this team have fun? Like, I think that maybe there's some accountability that needs to be had for this team, which I think, again, Mike Brown's main message was self-accountability. I really feel like that's really what if they are going to salvage what is left of this season.
Thank you, Chris.
They have to try and come together as a group, and as cliche and Hoosiers movie as it is, like you have to come together as a group. You have to sacrifice things, and you have to see the goal at hand, and that is to at least make the play in. But I think that's all thrown out, frankly, because there's no better opportunity than yesterday's game. Like the Kings were struggling going into yesterday's game. The Wizards were the worst team in the NBA. There's no reason why you shouldn't have that circled. And there's 2 mindsets. You can say it's the Wizards. We can roll in there. We should be fine. There's our get back game. We don't have to worry about it. Or you could say we've lost 2 in a row. We have to win this Wizards game.
Right.
What's the harm in beating the Wizards by 50? Let's give this a playoff effort, and let's make sure that we win the games that at this point in the season, we have to win.
Yeah.
My honest answer, what can they do to salvage, or what can they do to turn their...
You will answer it after the break,
Sure,
Frankie.
sure.
And just like Chris said, talking about remember the Titans, they will remember the day they play the Titans. They will remember the day they play the Kings because it was only their 17th win of the year. Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
Domantas Sabonis plays here.
He finds Sabonis. Put the frosting on the cake. Put the cherry on the sundae. Sabonis with a two-hand flush. Makes it 114-106.
Sactown Sports is your proud home of the Sacramento Kings.
Coach Doug Christie here for your truck headquarters, reminding you that every deal at Folsom Lake Ford is a slam dunk. Shop all your favorite models on sale now, including America's best-selling truck for over 47 years, Ford F-Series, plus a huge selection of Broncos, Bronco Sports, and all of Ford's award-winning SUVs at FolsomLakeFord.com. Listen, I know a great play when I see one, and if you want to save on a new Ford, you got to drive the lane straight to Folsom Lake Ford in the Folsom Auto Mall. Right now, buy any new Ford with zero down on approval of credit. Save big with low interest financing, and Folsom Lake Ford always pays top dollar for your trade. So hurry to Folsom Lake Ford, a 6-time Triple Crown winner for sales and service excellence. That's why they're my trusted dealer, and they should be yours too. Tell them Coach Doug Christie sent you, or shop them online at FolsomLakeFord.com.
Are you tired of your tee shots ending up in the adjoining fairway while the rest of your foursome is hitting it down the middle? Well, experts will tell you that being properly fitted for golf clubs will help you strike your drive center cut. The Hagen Oaks Player Performance Studio and its team of trained PGA professionals are ready to help you get rid of your banana balls and duck hooks. Hagen Oaks Indoor-Outdoor Player Performance Studio fittings are available 7 days a week. Make yours today by calling 916-808-2531. That's 808-2531.
It's Carmichael Dave talking to you about my good friends at American Energy. You're in the Sacramento area. You know how the seasons work. They are a-changing right now. So American Energy wants to help you stay warm for the rest of the cold season, but help you stay cool during the warm season. Best way to do that, make sure your system is operating safely. So right now is the time to take advantage of half off a tune-up, $24.50. They cut that right in half, and if you want a diagnostic, guess what? You can't beat free. If it's free, it's me, and now it can be you. And also, it's the end of the season blowout. $4,000 off a new system plus any rebates. That $4,000, that's a direct drop from the sticker price. It's a great deal. Check them out at theaeway.com or an instant quote, or give them a call at 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990. Tell them your good buddy Carmichael Dave sent you.
Call 916-520-9990 now.
Only one radio program captures the excitement of hunting and fishing as it happens. The award-winning California Sportsman with Sep Hendrickson. Only California Sportsman takes you where the action is. Live on the water, live in the blind, and live with the top pros and experts in outdoor sports. California Sportsman with Fishing Hall of Famer Sep Hendrickson is your premier destination for all things outdoors. Sep's Saturday Morning Outdoors. Ultimate Bass and California Sportsman, 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. Saturdays on Sactown Sports 1140.
Sacramento's premier country music festival, Country in the Park, is coming back May 16th and 17th at Cal Expo with Bailey Zimmerman, Billy Currington, Cole Wetzel, Nate Smith, and more. You'll enjoy food trucks, rock walls, and a mechanical bull, line dancing, and more. Single-day GA tickets start at $52 at CITPFest.com. Country in the Park, May 16th and 17th with Rocks Tech, Michelob Ultra, and Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. More info at CITPFest.com.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Whitey here, reminding you that not all grills are created equal. When buying a new grill, every detail matters. For March, grab a $149 gift with purchase of every new Napoleon Prestige stainless steel grill, including a pizza lover starter kit and much more. More March savings include up to $79 off Rogue models. Napoleon grills are built different, built better, built to last, with a lifetime warranty and premium stainless steel that boasts quality. See how Napoleon will help you achieve the perfect grilling experience. Visit Green Acres Nursery today with your best selection of Napoleon grills and accessories.
Allen Stiles
You can join the show by texting 916-339-1140
on Sactown Sports.
Joined by Chris Watkins, Brenden Nunes, Frankie Cartoscelli, the Roundtable, taking up to 2 p.m., talking all things Sacramento Kings. And it was a rough one last night. And Frankie, before the break, outstanding tease by you, even though you were going to say it and I had to stop you. That's right. Frankie, you said there is a way that the Kings can turn it around, and I am on pins and needles waiting to hear this answer.
It's simple, but doesn't seem like it's been that simple for the past, I don't know, I think Chris the other day, like 20 years it feels like. Defend the perimeter. You let the second worst shooting team in the league last night shoot 40% from three.
Yeah, 39.5.
I round up.
Okay.
The Kings, though, during this last 14-game stretch, they're 3-11, as we have so delicately laid out. They're letting opponents shoot 43.7% from three during those 14 games. I think if you have to like kind of put all your eggs in one basket, and the offense is kind of in a disarray right now, we've talked about a lot. It's kind of a your turn, my turn situation. Mostly DeMar DeRozan kind of getting his looks. Try to lock in as much as you can and defend the perimeter, because the Kings are getting just absolutely destroyed every single night. Just kind of looking at these losses, from the perimeter. 39% last night, 46% against Orlando. Down the line, 48% against Milwaukee. You can look at every game the Kings have lost over the past 2 weeks, and you can look at three-point shooting as the culprit. So will that solve all the problems? No. Those are probably a lot larger, but I think if you want to put yourself in a better spot and you do want to go to the play-in and you do want to have a chance at maybe sneak it into that 8 seed, you have to defend the perimeter, especially against teams that are more reliant on three-point shooting down the final stretch of the year. Because what do you have? You have Denver, you have Phoenix in the last game of the year, you have Cleveland on the back-to-back's brutal, man. All the optimism to me just kind of goes out the window when you look at the back-to-back. The Cleveland, Detroit, Sunday, Monday situation coming up is going to be pretty tough, especially after you look at the fact they blew that game in Washington, a game they should have had.
Yeah, and they did do the same thing last season, but that you didn't have DeMar DeRozan, you didn't have Malik Monk, right, and Kevin Huerter. That was that East Coast stretch where things just didn't work out for them. And they have Zach LaVine, but you wouldn't really know it by how the games have played out. Chris, what have you seen from Zach LaVine? And
not much.
I don't think either of us watched him too much when he was on the Bulls.
Correct.
But
yeah.
What is missing here? I feel like I don't want to say effort, but doesn't feel like he's early on. We talked about he would just go sit in the corner.
Yeah.
He's not sitting in the corner as much anymore. Somebody on the text line actually said it best, that sometimes it feels like he'll just take a three because he feels like he should, right? Like, I don't want people to come at me and say I haven't shot enough, so here's a three for you. Right. And he just chucks it up. What's the miss here? And like I said, I know we haven't really watched too much of Zach LaVine prior to arriving in Sacramento, but feels like there's more engagement attempting to be had, but it's just not working.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably kind of to sound like a broken record, but I think he probably just doesn't have a very clear vision of what his role is, right? Because I would imagine, what Zach LaVine has been best at this season and what he is really gifted is at it, being a scorer. Like, we see him hit crazy shots. He's had 13 of 17 nights. He was 15 of 17, I think, in another night here in Sacramento. Like, he can be in crazy efficient. I think he just, and he said it, I believe, last time when they were in Sacramento all those weeks ago, like, he likes the ball in certain spots. And I think some of it is him still trying to figure out, but I think it's just been really hard because, if he is being told that his role is to be a scorer, well, I can imagine he's a little bit confused when, again, not to beat a dead horse, but DeMar's taking a ton of shots. And, you talk about Malik, and now Malik's coming off the bench. And so now Malik already, we know, wasn't the fondest of coming off the bench. And now that he's back there, he's for sure going to make sure he's getting his looks from coming off the bench. And so I think it's a little bit of just one ball, too many mouths to feed, and there's no table setter. There's no guy there who's making sure that everyone's getting an equal amount of touches, making sure that, people are getting the ball in the right spots. It seems to me like Zach LaVine is really a victim of his circumstances, and he has a team that is trying to salvage any little semblance of success that they can find, and he doesn't really know because he just kind of got forced into a a sinking ship, a sinking. Wow, that could have gone bad. A sinking ship.
Cut around it.
Yeah, and he's trying to find a life raft. He's trying to find out, how can I help? Can I help? Or where am I best utilized? And I think it's just really tough when there's chaos seemingly all around, to try and find, as to bring it all back to Frankie's word, like to find some stability in any of it. Like I think he's just really struggling to figure out, as he was thrown into this situation, where do I fit in?
The only thing I'll add with Zach is that I have heard that, like, when he missed a game for some personal reasons, that for whatever it matters, because when it comes down to it, like, we just have to focus on the basketball, right?
Yes.
But I think there are some personal aspects going on in Zach's life. I think that, like, post-pregnancy for his wife, there's things there and things like that. They just had a baby. And I think that factors in. But I think that everything that's not to take away from what Chris said, that I think that everything he said is valid, and our job is to focus on the basketball side. But I do think there are aspects of non-basketball things that are factoring in here, but what are we supposed to do about that?
Look, and I'm not saying that Monty McNair or even Vivek should be paying attention to where these guys are at in their personal lives. But this is why when Kevin Durant, Jeremy Grant, these guys come out and they say, Bradley Beal, these guys come out and they say, I don't really want to be traded, right? And it doesn't really have anything to do with how much I like the Suns or how much I like the Blazers. These trades that happen, and when you're going to be depended on, not a Jake LaRavia, no disrespect to Jake, but when a lot is going to be changed for you and you have your roots somewhere, you are taking a gamble. Right? I thought I heard that Zach LaVine was out here, but like you said, Brenden, with the pregnancy, the family not out here, Frankie, you just had a kid, so you have the kid, and then you got to move to Sacramento, but the fam is still in Chicago.
Which, I don't think his family moved. Like, he was traveling back and forth to LA, my understanding, a lot throughout this stretch.
That stuff matters, and I should Monty be there. Well, we can't trade for that guy. He's about to have a baby. I'm not saying that, but this is the type of stuff you make yourself a part of, right? And you are at that issue, right? Or you're a part of that situation when you trade for people and important pieces, not fringe pieces, right? Not like the Mavericks and PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford. When you trade your number one for someone you think could be a version of a number one, you're at their discretion. And that's tough.
No, it's definitely tough. And it's one thing you need to look at as far as like the landscape of the future of his team, that, one upside thought is maybe you can get more from Zach LaVine with a full offseason and have chance for him to get fully settled in Sacramento, have chance for him to fully, be there with your newborn, be there with your family, be there with your wife. It's a tough situation for sure at a bad time, as far as the transition is going. But, I think that, Joe DeRose, our old buddy in the comments, is kind of pointing out that a proper point guard is missing, and that he thrived with Lonzo when Lonzo was playing healthy basketball in Chicago. I mean, the Kings need to kind of find that. And I think that Brenden pointed to it, and I look to it as well. You kind of wonder in what universe we thought the Fox LaVine combo might have happened, earlier last year. I think would that have worked better if he has like an actual traditional point guard running the show? And I know Fox would score first for the most part, but he was really, really good at finding his teammates. And Malik really is good, but in a pick and roll setting, not really quite the connection that him and LaVine can find. I mean, Malik's really a guy who's connected well with Domas and Valanciunas, even Alex Lem. When Lem was here, Malik really connected with him in the second unit. So I think that Zach LaVine, the fact that he's playing kind of, in a weird non-aggressive fashion right now, and kind of looks like he's kind of floating around, is concerning right now. But if we're looking towards the offseason, which is probably going to happen in the next week or two here, you have to hope that you get more from him, because he is, at the moment, probably the Kings' best player. I mean, Domas, there's an argument there too as far as what he can do, but Zach LaVine right now, if you're looking at where the roster stands going in the offseason, Zach LaVine's got to be there at the top of that list that you need more from.
One more segment with the guys. We talk about who is untouchable heading into the offseason for your Sacramento Kings. Down south, Sactown Sports.
On the move? Got somewhere to be?
Take Sacramento Kings basketball with you. The Sactown Sports app will let you stay connected to your passion. Never miss a moment of Sacramento Kings basketball with the Sactown Sports app.
Golf to Go is brought to you by the Hagen Oaks Golf Super Shop. Here's Frank LaRosa.
The word "for" has been used in golf for centuries, and its origins can be traced to the Middle Ages. According to historians, the word "for" is derived from the Old English word meaning before or in front of. In those days, the term was used to warn people of incoming arrows during archery practice. Another theory suggests that 4 has military connections. During the 19th century, artillery officers would yell 4 to warn their troops of incoming shells. This practice may have carried over to golf. The most popular theory, however, is that 4 has Scottish roots. In Scotland, 4 caddy was used to describe a person who walked ahead of the golfers to spot where their ball landed. The 4 caddy would then yell 4 to warn the golfers if their ball was heading towards another golfer or a spectator. Today, 4 is used to warn golfers or spectators of an errant shot. Whether it's derived from the Middle Ages, military practice, or Scottish roots, 4 has become an integral part of the game of golf, and now you know why. That's your Golf to Go. I'm Frank LaRosa.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-902-5454. 800-902-5454.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
At Elk Grove Honda, not only do we have a great selection of pre-owned cars at very fair prices, but every one of our pre-owned automobiles are treated with kid gloves with a 182-point inspection that covers everything from unibody to tires to brakes and engine filters. Then our cars receive a mobile oil change and fresh fill-up with full synthetic mobile oil. We know you have lots of choices of where to purchase your next car. Come to Elk Grove Honda, home with a 182-point inspection and mobile oil change. We're in the Elk Grove Auto Mall, Highway 99 at Elk Grove Boulevard.
You've heard the saying, penny wise, pound foolish, right? It means you do something that will save you a little bit right now, just pennies, but that ends up costing you pounds in the end.
People put off tuning up their furnace because they don't want to take the time or spend the money to get it done.
But it only takes 90 minutes and costs just $87, which is just pennies compared to the huge problems and expenses that can rack up if you don't get your furnace tuned up.
You'll also save money on your energy bills, and your system will last longer.
So don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Call Bell Brothers for a precision tune-up and professional cleaning today.
Our number is 916-444-1234, or find us online at thenosurpriseguys.com.
The No Surprise Guys, Bell Brothers.
Get ready, NorCal. The Lodi Beer Fest and State Barbecue Championship is on Saturday, April 26th at the Lodi Grape Festival grounds. There will be something for everyone. Craft beers from over 50 breweries, live music, outrageous food, games, plus taste barbecue from world-class barbecue teams. For tickets and more information, go to grapefestival.com. Must be 21 years of age or older to attend. The Lodi Beer Fest, where great brews meet legendary cues. Saturday, April 26th in Lodi.
Big savings are back at Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. New Hondas are piling up, and that means big savings for you.
Looking to own or lease? During the spring sales event, drive a brand new Accord or Civic. Visit us today at FolsomLakeHonda.com, your one-stop Honda shop.
As a family-owned and operated dealership since 2009, customer service is our #1 priority. Our customers love doing business with us, and you will too.
Folsom Lake Honda, yeah, your one-stop Honda shop.
Want the best movie experience in town? Join Sactown Sports IMAX Pass by visiting SactownSports.com. Sign up today. You can win tickets to see this week's films at the Esquire IMAX Theater.
Your home for Kings talk and so much more.
Live and local.
Allen Stiles on Sactown Sports.
One more segment with the guys. And this one's going to be pretty simple. Very tempting to talk off-season trades and things like that. And there's information out there that we're going to break down at some point this offseason. But I want to start here, guys. Feels like Keegan Murray, there has been a little bit of an emphasis to get him going. And that was probably the only thing I liked from what I saw yesterday. Now, he goes.
You liked things yesterday?
Well, I did. I liked Keegan being decisive, 4 of 10 from three-point range. Felt like he could have made some more timely threes, but I like that he wasn't hesitating at all as we do talk about what this team looks like and what it could look like in the future. Are there any untouchables on this team? I'm just going to open it up to the floor.
You love that word. No, there is no untouchable.
Not one.
No.
Not a one.
No.
I don't think you can
not
say
even close.
I don't think you can say there's any player that you wouldn't include in any potential deal.
Your best players are potentially going to ask for a trade.
Yeah. I think like if there's one I had to say it would be nice for them not to move him, it's Keegan. That's obviously it's pretty obvious that they're nice not to move him. But if there's a deal that's too good to say no to, I mean, the Kings they're in a position where they might have to start from scratch. Like they're very, very close to where they need to start from scratch. But like we've alluded to, it's unlikely that they do that right now. I can't see them going into the offseason saying time to tear it down, even though I think that maybe would be the worst thing in the world. And it would be horrible from a fan perspective to have to watch them lose for a couple of years in a row. And from our side, we don't want to watch losing basketball. We have a great time watching competitive, fun basketball. It's not fun to watch a team win 18, 19 games. And, well, I guess in the Wizards' case, occasionally beat a decent team like the Kings or a near 500 team like the Kings. I want to see the Kings be competitive. But I think if you're going to the offseason, everything has to be on the table. Everyone has to be on the table. And the players that you kind of look at as young, building, quote-unquote, building blocks to have for the near term are Keegan, Devin, Keon, who we've talked about it before and at length that he has an interesting kind of contract situation where the Kings could decline his option this summer and try to sign him to a longer deal for more money, or they can, we'll see what happens. But, I mean, as far as that list, it's very, very short. And as far as guys that you would like to not trade.
You know what's interesting about the play-in, and we talked a little bit about this at the beginning of the show, the play-in is really where teams go to die, right? I mean, either you've probably underachieved to some level or you've overachieved to some level, but nobody sets their level at the play-in. Because I'm looking here, and there are more untouchables for teams below the play-in than in the play-in because they're headed in a certain direction. I look at the Spurs. Obviously, they have Wemby and a couple guys. And then you look.
Who?
Yeah, who else? Who else is on that team?
He ain't untouchable. Don't get me started on that. He is not matter. No, he is not untouchable.
Doesn't really matter. All-time
you look at the Wizards, they'd probably say Alex Sarr and guys like that. But then you get to that 9-10, and you have the Heat and the Bulls for the Eastern Conference. Maybe Matas, but again, the Bulls are a situation. I love Matas. The Bulls are a situation where they're surprising some people. They weren't supposed to be better once Zach LaVine left, and the Heat. I don't know what the Heat are doing. And then you look at 9-10, and it's kind of a dumpster fire, right? And I don't think anybody's untouchable on the Mavericks either. They decided to make this move, and they have some terrible injury luck, and here we are. Chris, any untouchables?
I don't think so. I mean, I think there's, like Frankie said, like maybe people they prefer not to move on from, but realistically, it doesn't matter which direction you're going. You have to consider trading everybody, like even Sabonis. Like if you're thinking about getting better, like I think to what Brenden said earlier, like you kind of need that lead singer. You need a best player on the team if you're going to try and continue to move forward. And maybe I can't say no disrespect because it is like I don't think Domantas Sabonis is good enough to be the best player on a team that realistically is making the second round of the playoffs. Like I think you need to, and if you're going the opposite direction, then who's the player you're probably going to get most draft compensation for? It might be Keegan, but I'm sure Domantas Sabonis is pretty high on that list. So either direction you plan on going, unless that direction is keeping tied for whatever that would be worth. You have to consider trading everybody. Like you said, I mean, DeMar DeRozan's probably going to ask to be traded. Zach LaVine's probably going to ask, what am I doing here in general?
Rich Paul guy, by the way.
Yeah, totally. Like, I think there's just going to be a lot of people who wouldn't mind being moved out of the situation. And frankly, I think there's some people that the Kings are going to actively search to try and get out. I think Sam even said this morning that Vivek has said that, there's going to be a lot of changes around or something like that. Like there's just a feeling that there's going to be a lot of new blood in the air next season.
The very important thing to note is if we're looking at, this is the possibility of like, okay, or the door that's don't tear it down completely, salvage it, reload, not rebuild. You are not in the same position you were in last offseason where you are a enticing option for free agents. I don't think any DeMar DeRozan type players are going to come saying, you know what, maybe I will sign with Sacramento because I like what they're doing.
Which, to be fair, I don't even know if that was really DeMar's reasoning.
A little bit.
It was a last-second move.
A little bit of money involved.
Came home.
A little bit of money involved.
6 hours away.
I agree with your point, though.
But the point is, the only way to upgrade this roster, I think, is going to be through trade. And we've seen, Sam talked about John Morant's kind of in the beginning of those De'Aaron Fox conversations. Kevin Durant obviously is going to be interesting to look at this offseason. Is that something the Kings should be interested in? Should they wait out for other players to become available that, you never know. More players become available in an NBA offseason. More stunning moves happen, I think, in an NBA offseason or even during the season, like we saw with the Luka trade. Things can change in an instant. And the Kings right now, I think that you aren't in a position, you haven't earned it enough to be able to say no to another team. This isn't like the Lauri Markkanen situation where you can say, you know what, we like what we're doing. We're going to hold on to these guys and kind of keep building with the group we have. This group is so all over the place. You need to find a direction. You need to stick with it. And it's not going to meet the free agency at this point. Not that the Kings even have cap space to work with. I think they have virtually none. So,
yeah. I mean, I think nothing says more than the fact that, at least personally, I don't know how you guys feel, I'd rather be in the spot that the Washington Wizards are in.
I said that last night.
That the Utah Jazz are in.
Easy.
The Hornets.
Blazers.
Low-key in a bad spot. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're about to get a great player in a top 5 heavy draft.
They have a direction. They have like an identity to this team, even if the current year is, hey, we're not going to be that good, but we're going to figure out how to get more top-end talent. And they have a clear pathway to that.
Yeah.
The Kings have the most confusing pathway. While I said earlier, yes, I think there's a world. I agree with Frank. The way that they solve this is through trade. I think there's a world where, sure, they hit a home run. But the tough situation is that we've seen this front office be so patient and try to be picky, which I think is an understandable. I was on here a lot saying that, like, probably justifying the patience more than most people, I feel like. But you have put yourself in a corner where you don't get to be patient. Whatever's out there this offseason, you have to try to figure out the best way to go ahead.
Also, who is the GM?
We don't even know that. We don't know who the head coach is.
I think that really keep an eye on what happens next couple of weeks because, we've seen it happen before with the Kings in general, but, it'll happen quick. If they miss the plan or they lose the first game of the plan, I think we get an answer pretty quick of who's going to be head coach or GM because the Kings are not going to want to have to go through a lengthy process with the, if they miss the plan, they get to keep the draft pick. That's the bright side.
How much is money a factor or will money be a factor in whether they decide to keep Doug Christie or not? That's what everyone keeps talking about, the contracts and how Doug will be cheaper than a Taylor Jenkins.
There's none of that.
They probably shouldn't have signed Mike Brown to an extension just to pay him $10+ million the next 2 years and worry about paying the next head coach. Also, that's a risk you have to take on when you do make a move like that.
We've talked about playing. While ownership does want to stay under the luxury tax for specific reasons of shares of pay and all that, they've never skimped on coaches. They've paid 2 coaches more often than not.
Yeah.
I don't think that money is a factor in this at all.
Doesn't hurt the cap. Doesn't affect the cap.
Nope.
They can pay 5 head coaches.
I know it doesn't affect the cap, but it affects a wallet.
Right.
Whose?
But
my uncle says it all the time. Whenever I'm talking about, the Yankees need to go for this guy, he's like, hey, it's not your money. Who the hell cares?
It's not.
Also,
I'm not.
They make money if the team is good. Like, it's an investment.
Yeah.
If they don't have that problem, they should probably make better decisions.
And they've been willing to invest in those coaches. Like I've said, they've paid multiple coaches for plenty of years.
All right. I'm upset. We got to get Kyle's giving me the Dame Lillard. We got to get out of here. But there was a big investment in Doug Christie. Let's not forget that. He's Chris Watkins. He's Brenden Nunes. He's Frankie Cartoscelli. Thanks so much, guys. They all deserve their own. Why does only Frankie get an intro?
Nah, I'm good.
We'll talk to them next week. Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports.
Require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details.